former Olympic gold medalist, the former unified heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua, returns this weekend as he enters a new dawn, seeking a new path towards the heavyweight title. And he will square up against JERMAINE FRANKLIN. It's a fight I cannot wait for. I'm really looking forward to it. At the end of the day, how can you not be excited about a boxer puncher who entertains? He's one of the stars of the sport. It's baffling to me how there has been such a dramatic reaction to him losing to Alexander Usyk, one of the best to ever do it, on 2 occasions. It's the only unavenged defeat Anthony Joshua has. I mean, imagine social media or the modern day mentality existed with fighters of the past. People always talk about a golden era, right? The golden age of boxing, and, you know, if only boxing was like it was in the past. A lot of those same people that moan, though, a lot of those fans are responsible for the state of boxing today, because fighters don't want to take risks. What's the point of taking a risk if you are going to destroy their livelihood by trying to undermine their abilities if they fall short? I mean, imagine Smoking Joe Frazier was around today. If you haven't seen Frazier's fights against George Foreman, go and check them out. They don't last long. George Foreman absolutely splatters this guy. He destroys him. Joe Frazier's a Hall of Fame heavyweight, right? Today, he would have been exposed, right? Well, Anthony Joshua lost on points twice to Alexander Usyk. A big deal. And you know, one of the funniest things as well is that a lot of the fans of the rival fighters that put fighters down don't actually consider the implications of what it is that they're saying. I mean, take Muhammad Ali. We just gave Joe Frazier as an example. That's one of Ali's most iconic victories. If he's been exposed, and that's not that great a victory, right? George Foreman too had some losses. And additionally to having some losses, when he fought Muhammad Ali, Ali was considered past his best. And Foreman was kind of dumb in his tactical approach. Ali admits he got in his mind, and George Foreman started throwing all these haymaker punches, and he basically gassed himself out. How stupid was George Foreman, somebody could say. And he never got the rematch against Ali that he desperately wanted. In today's world, what would people be saying? George Foreman got exposed. He's just a big, dumb heavyweight. And Muhammad Ali ducked the rematch as well. He never wanted that smoke. How about Sonny Liston? Well, Sonny Liston had ties with the mafia, and he probably took a dive against Ali. So when you start talking about some of the most iconic victories of Muhammad Ali, when you start undermining the opponents, well, then what you're actually doing is also trying to undermine the legacy of Muhammad Ali. And so imagine we were in the modern day today, how people would be talking about those specific fighters in this day and age. Anthony Joshua is a great heavyweight, and he would have been a great heavyweight in any era. So is Alexander Usyk. Losing to a guy like that doesn't mean anything. But there is a mental aspect, and that mental aspect means that there's pressure. And dealing with pressure can be a very difficult thing. This is one of the most important fights of Anthony Joshua's career, not in terms of a legacy, because I'm a firm believer that legacy is shaped by your big wins rather than your losses. When you look at the great fighters of the past, nobody talks about Sugar Ray Robinson's 19 losses and 6 draws. The reason he's considered the best of all time by many people is the achievements he got, the actual big wins. Floyd Mayweather's the guy that has started to insert this idea of an O mattering. It really doesn't. If you take risks and you fight guys in their peak, it's about what you achieve that matters. But this is an important fight for AJ, because if he loses as a brand, where does he go from here? There have been a lot of people talking about, you know, oh, AJ, you're going to retire. They're almost putting words in his mouth. But in terms of a brand, he can continue to fight, of course. If he's already struggling to sell out arenas after losing to Alexander Usyk, of all people, twice, what would happen if he lost to JERMAINE FRANKLIN? So this is a vital crossroads fight for AJ. So how could this fight potentially go? Let's get into talking about JERMAINE FRANKLIN. You know, there are 1 or 2 things that he does where there are hints of being reminiscent of somebody like Andy Ruiz or even Jermaine Stiverne. He's not the fastest footed guy. He's got some nice upper body movement though, and you see that he gives you different looks when he is holding his feet. And that's something that both of those guys used to do. His guard is not as relaxed as somebody like Jermaine Stiverne's, and he doesn't hit as hard as either one of the 2 fighters we're talking about here. But he's got fast hands, and he's quite varied with his shots. He throws a nice double jab, where he varies it from the head to the body to the solar plexus, which can stop a fighter from entering. It can mess with their balance. He throws quite a powerful left hook off of a jab too. But there is a bit of a weakness with the way he delivers that. We'll talk about that in a moment. He is very good with his timing of the right hand. you can step in and he'll just slip to the left and throw a really powerful right hand, and sometimes it can have a bit of a loop on it. He doesn't throw the uppercut all the time, but when he does, he's got the biomechanics for it. So you're seeing a lot of variation there. A guy that can go to the body and to the head. When he does throw that left hook off of the jab though, when he's the one entering, a lot of the times he'll come in with his head on the line. So he'll throw the jab, and then as he throws the hook, his head stays on the line. And you saw against Pavel Sauer at one point when he tried to enter like that and throw that left hook, he got caught with a counter left hook of his own. As he got caught with that left hook, he fell into Sauer. It was a big shot. He was hurt by it. He was affected by it. And Sauer's nowhere near a finisher like Anthony Joshua, right? So AJ will be looking at that and thinking, if I can lure this guy in, I know he's looking for trigger counters. So if I can jab and ensure that what comes back instantly I'm safe from. So if I'm going to look to box a little bit, soften him up, force this guy to think, right, I've got to start making moves here. I've got to start entering the pocket. AJ could potentially start to look to counter him as he's coming in. We know that AJ's got a nice pull counter. Alternatively, Anthony Joshua might want to punch with Jermaine Franklin. Now, it has gotten him in trouble in the past when he was exchanging with Andy Ruiz. After he dropped Ruiz, he got caught with a shot, right? So he might want to minimize those sort of situations where you're exchanging with him. But if you can keep your defense tight, and usually AJ's defense is very tight in the middle of exchanges, he shortens up his hooking technique really well. If he can do that and punch with Jermaine Franklin, if he starts to read his patterns, that could also be an opportunity to find openings. We also know that when he's under fire, he's under pressure, his hands will come sort of in this area here, much like Stivern's, and he'll cover up. And just like Stivern, he's looking to punch off of that. So he looks to punish you with fast shots off of that. But when he has that high guard, what you saw when he fought Dillian Whyte, for instance, Whyte had some success by, he'd engage, so he'd get you to cover up, and then from there he'd slip slightly on the outside, and it would either leave openings for wide hooks around the guard, and he landed some vicious ones, which Franklin took well and looked to counter straight away. Or alternatively, he would shoot an uppercut through the center line of the guard. And we know that Anthony Joshua has a lovely uppercut. We also saw as the fight wore on against Dillian Whyte, when Whyte was engaging him physically, you could see that there was a physical strength discrepancy there. Whyte was able to manipulate the guard. He was able to push him down, frame him, hold him. If AJ can use those sorts of moves, fight like a big man, something that he's been accused of not doing enough of late, he could potentially break the construct and the balance of Jermaine Franklin and go to work from there. We also saw that he was susceptible to being hit with a straight right hand. And Dillian Whyte's right hand isn't as fluid as Anthony Joshua's. You guys know I love Dillian, right? But sometimes he can lose his positioning when he's throwing certain shots. And I felt he won that fight more comfortably than a lot of people did. I know there were some people out there that felt that it was a fight that could have gone either way, or that Franklin potentially even won. Personally, I thought it was an 8-round-to-4 fight. I felt that a lot of what Franklin was doing was coming off of the shoulders, the forearms, the biceps, the wrists, the gloves. Whyte was catching a lot of that stuff, and there was one funny bit at the end of a particular round whereby the commentator is saying really accurate stuff here from Jermaine Franklin, and the highlights are actually showing everything being caught. So I think a lot of people expected Dillian Whyte to blow him out of there, this unknown guy. They expected another Trevor Bryant type of guy. And so when he did a lot better than people expected, and he was hitting the target somewhere, right? He's hitting the arms, but he's hitting somewhere. I think people are looking at that and thinking, wow, this is a back and forth, and he's got a great chin, and he's got faster hands than Dillian. And so people are looking at that going, whoa, this could really go either way. But I think when you're really careful about looking at where the shots landed, you'll see that Dillian was comfortable. His defense was very good overall. And he had more about him, and he won the fight. But he showed Franklin that he's competent. This is a legitimate test for a comeback fight for Anthony Joshua after 2 back-to-back losses. He's aware of what's coming at him. He'll catch shots, he'll roll with shots, he'll parry shots. He is good defensively, Jermaine Franklin. He knows what he's doing in there. This is not some pudding that a lot of people expected him to be. And so AJ does have to be careful. There's enough there of a threat for him to think, you know what, I can't overwork here, get too excited. I'm going to have to break this guy down behind a long jab. When I do get close, I will find opportunities, but I know he's looking to fire back. Make him work in areas you don't want to work. Come off the line in the middle of your combinations to create openings, and you will eventually break him down, I believe. I think Anthony Joshua will get the fight won between rounds sort of 6 and 9, that sort of area there. A lot of people are talking about AJ just walking in there and blowing him out. Spencer Fearon said if he doesn't get him out in the first 6 rounds, he needs to retire. I have to respectfully disagree with Spencer Fearon. I think he's underrating Jermaine Franklin a little bit, but also what the expectations are of Anthony Joshua. You don't have to just walk through a guy. Break him down, soften him up, and as long as you get the victory, I think that's what matters here. And really, he needs a knockout. He does need a knockout for his own confidence and for the brand of Anthony Joshua, to get people excited again, to get people watching AJ and talking about, is Anthony Joshua back? He is, of course, with Derek James now, and James is used to training smaller guys, and they're guys that can work very hard. Frank Martin, Errol Spence, Jamel Charlo, these are guys that will set a tempo, they'll make you work. That's not necessarily conducive with a heavyweight. A lot of people talk about how it's different to train a heavyweight and any other weight category of fighter because of the stamina issues. It's different. You're lining guys up for a big shot rather than looking to work consistently. That rule can be broken. Alexander Usyk is different, of course, but he's a cruiserweight moving up. Anthony Joshua is a big man. Is he going to be able to maintain the sort of high-level tempo that Derek James might want to establish as a trainer? So there are question marks there. What is this going to fit like as a partnership? And this is a good level of opponent to be able to test things against, because I don't think he'll beat AJ, but there's enough of a threat there whereby you look at it and you say, okay, we're going to have to consider what we're doing here. It's not just a case of a gimme. It's not I'm going to walk in there and just splatter this guy in the first round easily regardless of what happens, and I'm not going to learn anything from it. So let me know what you think, ladies and gents, about this fight. How do you see it playing out? Are there areas that Anthony Joshua could come unstuck in? Like I said, Franklin throws a nice double jab and he targets that solar plexus well. We saw in the Andy Ruiz fight, he had a lot of success with straight shots to the body. Anthony Joshua is looking a little bit more bulked up than he has in more recent fights. His shoulders, his biceps look bigger. Are we going to see lactic acid build up? And if so, is Franklin targeting the body potentially going to cause AJ some issues with stamina again? Let me know what you think, ladies and gents. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.